yeah, so next one should be in pretty quickly. And in the meantime, I'm going to take this to remind you guys to jump into those raffle prizes. You got the minimum requirement in order to be considered for them. I saw a couple of these perlers and they're really, really cool. So, yeah, take your chance with those. Definitely recommend it. There's still, so we're going into, with this next run, we're going into the first one of what's considered Saturday, at least here in the Pixels for Peace schedule. And we've got some pretty cool things going on. Stay tuned. I think our run is almost ready to go. There's been going a couple of donations, so we're getting closer to that goal, $2,100 that we want to get together for Save the Children. Really good association, making great work, helping children in Syria get some food, get some blankets. So if you have any dollars going, free there that you can spare, any little bit helps. So we really appreciate it.
Hello, hello. So I'm Butcher Berries. I'm going to be commentating for the run of Super Glue Live. I'm not the one doing the run. That's Emm0ji with two M's. And yeah, basically, she's about to perform a top tier run for you guys. So I guess if you want to start pretty much in 10 seconds, I can give a countdown for that. So, well, 10 seconds makes no sense, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And that can be this timer start. So the whole thing with Super Lumi Live is it's a precision platformer and it's very momentum based. So you can do your jump, you can do your double jump. That's pretty simple. But when you jump on a moving platform, then the momentum of the moving platform will basically add to your own movement speed, and that will carry over for as long as you stay in the air. So most of the strats for the beginning of the game, and honestly most of the strats for the whole run, are going to be about keeping momentum and running as fast as possible. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty simple. So this first area of the game is relatively simple. It's very cycle based. Um, we're going to be doing an all levels category. So, as simple as it sounds, just do every level and beat the game. So, there's 60 levels in total. Right now, we're on the second one. And basically, you have to run and jump. It's pretty similar to the I Want to Be the Guy fan games, if that's something that you've played. But if not, it's also got some N++ vibes, or, similar to, I guess, Super Meat Boy. But that's kind of the obvious comparison. Um, there's a lot of easy tricks and a lot of hard tricks in the game. One of the easiest ones is save resetting, which you'll see Emm0ji do a lot in this game because it just gets you on a better cycle. It gets you started more easily, and it basically just like always helps because it makes things more consistent. And what you're going to notice is that right now, in 1-3, she's replaying it after already beating it, or actually after already entering it. And the reason for that is because she entered a portal, and the portal spawned a bunch of collectibles. And getting all the collectibles in a certain amount of time will basically allow you to enter a secret area. So the secret areas count as levels. They are levels in every sense of the word. So you have to beat those levels, and then you have to replay back through the level you just did in order to get to the true ending, or the normal ending. And so the one keeps freezing, so that's fine. So pretty much, there's going to be a lot more of that throughout the game, especially through the ending part of the game. But for now, it's basically just simplistic, like running away from the red and white saw blades, and jumping around stationary spikes, and nothing too complex yet. But later in the game, I mean, cycles start getting a lot more just weird and hard to work around. So most of the game is, I mean, I don't know. It's, in general, it consists of a bunch of normal levels, and then one boss level, and one or two secret levels per area. And this right here is a boss level, so I guess you guys missed some stuff. But now we are on the boss level, and it's just been beaten. So that's area 1. Bit of weirdness going on, but anyways. So now World 2 begins, and World 2 is where they start introducing a lot of gimmicks. And the first gimmick is the springs, and jumping on a spring refreshes your jump, as well as bouncing you up a certain distance in the air. And one useful thing you can do with springs is jump as soon as you hit it, because that actually sets your momentum down to 0 again. So you do a much lower jump than you normally would. And that is very useful in many of these levels, just to make things a little bit easier. So this is another level that uses the springs, but also there's another example of the portal mechanic, which you may not have seen because the screen is a little bit laggy. You jump in the portal, you collect these 5, and it's always 5, little inverted thingies, and you get sent to 2-A in this case. 2-A is using both the spring mechanic and also a new mechanic, which is gravity turns. And there's red and green gravity turns. Green ones can be reused, red ones cannot. And what the gravity turns do is they basically just flip your screen, flip your gravity, and flip your momentum. And that's another bit of a freeze. So in pretty much all of the secret levels, there is gravity turns. There is, you know, a bunch of crazy speed falling mechanics that are used there. And in most of the ones in World 2, yeah. Okay, so things will be all right in just a minute.
Having a little bit of issues with the stream, but it's getting fixed right now, so let's hold it for a second.
Well, listening, I am back. I'm watching 2-6, so hopefully that's the level that we are all on as well. Pretty much the way this mechanic works is there's blue and orange blocks. And the blue blocks will get destroyed if you double jump, and the orange blocks will get created if you double jump. So you basically have to control your jumps, and you have to control which one to use, and it becomes sort of as much of a puzzle game as it is just a, platformer. And especially when you involve the gravity flips and the turning and the wild and wacky stuff, it gets a little bit weird to figure out the optimal strats. So the world record for this level is about 23 seconds, if I'm not wrong. And it ends up going back and forth a bunch of times, and I don't think this one has a checkpoint reset, but a lot of levels do. And it's a lot of, it's a lot of sort of awkward stuff, but then, playing it through, it feels pretty, unique and interesting to play, especially because you start understanding how the mechanics work in more detail instead of just, the basic, oh, well, you have to jump over the block. So 2-5 introduces basically crumbling blocks. So you jump on them, you stand on them, and after a little bit of time, they will destroy themselves, which is a pretty simple mechanic. But in this specific case, it's used to, create urgency, whatever. It's kind of one of the more boring ones, to be honest. It's just a little bit, it's a little bit of forced waiting, which nobody likes. But something interesting about them is that if you stand on them for only 1 frame and immediately jump, which can be done by buffering the jump, you'll actually not trigger them. So that is used in the 100% categories and pretty much all the 100% categories. But it's used in that to gather some tokens more quickly. So 2-2 introduces basically saw blades that turn around on an axis. It's pretty simple. So while we're here, I will talk about the game overall. It's very underappreciated. I think under 50 people have beaten it overall in its lifetime, so pretty low. So if you want to come and get some pre-third place records, you can definitely grab them. But it's, it's done pretty well. I think it's pretty popular as a speed game considering how little people have played it. And then in this level, 2-boss, it's basically an auto-scroller for the first half, and then the second half lets you move around at will, which pretty much just lets you climb up this tower relatively easily. And the third half, which makes total sense, is another auto-scroller. And the special thing about auto-scrollers in Lumi, or at least this level, is that the screen scrolls faster if you are near the top. So it's actually better to stay always near the top of the screen, which leads to some fun strats. And if you're super risky, you can jump totally off screen and do like half the level off screen, which is why the record for this level is around 41 seconds. But I don't think that's really, marathon viable or run viable. It's kind of just an IO strat. So this is the most boring level in the run because you sit here and you wait and things shoot at you and you let them shoot at you and you just don't get hit. The shooters are interesting because they're actually based on a global timer. So if you are walking into a room, they will basically always shoot, I think, I'm not sure how many frames, but it's something like, 15, 30 frames after the room starts, and then every second or however many, it varies, but however much time, they'll shoot again. So if you enter a room and then you go through an area and they only target you halfway through their wait animation, they'll actually be able to start firing immediately, which you'd think would feel kind of janky. And I mean, it might if it were used in a way that you couldn't dodge it, but in main gameplay, it's pretty reactable. And if you're going for speed runs, it actually makes for some pretty interesting cycle work to kind of work around that. So 3-3 is one of the more difficult levels in early game. You have to do some relatively precise, very tall jumps in order to get over these things. It doesn't look that bad, but it's pretty hard, honestly, for most players. It took me like 5 minutes maybe to get that, so not the easiest thing. But of course, it looks like a cakewalk when you see it done without dying, as if it could be done 100 times in a row. The next part of this level is pretty much more the same, but it includes a few new people who are actually chasers. They're going to look at you, and when you get within a certain distance of them, they will follow you and basically just go towards you. That's, it's a fun mechanic. It's not really innovative necessarily, but it's used to good effect. The level design in this game is really, I think, what makes it stand out. Most games of this type, I think it's easy to make a game that feels like good to play like this, but it's definitely hard to make one where every level is unique and also has kind of like a fun challenge to it and not just kind of doing the same thing multiple times in a row. Speaking of doing the same thing multiple times in a row, this is a level with a lot of gravity flips and a lot of vertigo if you're into that. Basically, the goal is just collect all the key cards, exit the level, go through portals, but not the other kind of portals. These are just kind of portals that transport you to different rooms, and just kind of dodge the cycles with the green guys. So now we go back into 3-4. one of the hardest levels to get the best time on. And it's it's extremely cycle based. You can see the checkpoint reset right there to get back to the more, the easier cycle. And, in this case, it's faster because you don't want to die. But, IL strats would not actually use a checkpoint there, and they would just jump and go right next to the spike and actually do a jump off the side of the block on top of the spike pretty much, because the spike hitbox is not actually as big as the whole block. So you can actually go right on the edge of the spike and, hop on top of it and hop off of it however much you want. And that's, it's a fun thing to learn your first time seeing it, and then next time you see a part in the level where you think that can be abused, you do it and you realize, wow, that's actually sort of something that the developer intended, maybe, or I don't know. But, it's never forced to use those kinds of strats, but it's definitely, it's definitely useful when they do appear. So I can see some resemblances to, the way that Celeste uses the hyper dashes to kind of, structure each level to be played in multiple ways. You can play the level just by running around and jumping, or you can abuse checkpoint resets or whatever in a way that, makes things easier, makes things harder, but a little bit faster, or whatever you like. So this level, 3-6 Shaft, is a great one. The gimmick is basically just that there's a big pool of lava chasing you, well, acid, whatever, chasing you the whole way through. But that's not really a problem, because it's very slow. 3-C Space Race is a level that has a very nice super speedrun strat for ILs. It's around 9 seconds. But, that's not going to be done because, honestly, who cares about saving 4 seconds in an hour-long run? Maybe there's better places to save that time. So now, back to 3-6. It's a fun level because you basically are forced to constantly keep moving. There's a few parts where you do have to wait, but for the most part, every time you're finished with one jump, it's just on to the next jump and on to the next jump. So really, if you want to optimize the level, you kind of have to, you can't just be perfect with a few inputs. You have to kind of do a lot of really optimal and perfect stuff in a row and just kind of chain a bunch of things together. So speaking of IL records, the person who holds pretty much all of them for the main game is Guy SD, who's in the chat. Pretty cool guy. I have tried stealing some of them. I haven't succeeded very often because he's pretty good, but it's a kind of game where there's really always stuff to do better. Like, even if you have a run that looks basically perfect, it's not perfect. There's gonna be maybe 2 or 3 frames left. There's gonna be maybe a new cycle, and stuff like that is being found still pretty often. So that's 3-7 complete. On to the boss, and we're already sort of halfway through the game because there's 6 worlds, but actually, the worlds 4 and 5 and 6 are a lot longer, a lot harder levels. It just picks up the pace. So in this level, the gimmick is that it's dark and you can't see anything, which kind of sucks, but also it's fun the first time you play it, and then later you already know what the level is, so it's not really like the darkness is the worst mechanic in the world. And a lot of Lumi has things like that, things that are executed in other games kind of terribly, but that are a lot of fun when you play them in the right scenarios, right? So, not to say necessarily that the game is easy, but it does allow for a lot of like experimentation and a lot of different options for the ways you beat a level. And, usually if you get the right one, it's not going to say, oh, you didn't get the correct right one. You got to try again. So this level is basically the first introduction to World 4, and it works pretty well as an introduction. It tells you you're going to be experiencing a lot of dumb cycles that suck and a lot of lasers that keep moving around, and that's sort of what 70% of the area is. So, pretty much every level here has a gimmick. It has a new gimmick, it has a fun gimmick. This one is basically these blocks swap their on-off states as soon as you jump, so you have to use your jumps and double jumps carefully. Obviously, there's crazy strats that aren't used, but that's every level, so, what's the difference? And these little passageways are actually a recurring theme in this area. The little, motherboard-looking passageways, which you can jump through and they disappear when you get, into them. It's basically using the same stuff as the, dark level from earlier, as well as a few just kind of invisible, or not invisible walls, but like, I guess breakable walls, you could say, but they don't actually break, you just walk through them. That's kind of a lot in the game, one in the theme. Usually they're for collectibles, but oftentimes you just need them to go fast. So 4-3 is another one of the very hard levels to optimize because it's very cycle-based and very weird with its cycles. See that checkpoint reset there is to make everything consistent and make sure you can get it every time. But, if you were going for ultra world record and you wanted to get, maximum times on every level, you would probably just jump right over there immediately and, be a god gamer. But nobody's a god gamer because that's not possible. So next up for 4-4, if we are getting to that now. My stream is buffering a little bit, as I think is yours. So if we are getting to 4-4 just about now. Yeah, okay, 4-4 is another laser level. It's got a bunch of cycles. A new cycle was just recently found, I think 2 days ago or yesterday. But all the lasers do is move around, and you have to pretty skillfully just dodge and weave around the blocks and around the lasers. Seems like it's a little bit choppy, a little bit hard to see, but you can assume what's going on. She's jumping and then double jumping and then walking into walls and sometimes collecting orbs. Can you believe it? What a video game. So, 4-S Space Station. The lag has stopped. We can all... Oh no, it has not stopped. Okay. Yes, okay, so this level is one of the shortest in the game, and it's done. You basically just run to the right the whole time. It's the most optimized level in the game, down to a frame, or down to a subframe, actually, it seems like. And yeah, 4-4, now we're actually beating the level. So the actual solution to the level is sort of different. You don't go up, instead you go to the right, and it's laser cycles, it's got guys shooting at you, it's got all the fun things that everybody likes. And that's, it's a basic level, pretty much, but it's got complexity to it, definitely, and almost as much complexity as this next level, 4-7, which sucks, but, I also have to admit that in a technical sense, it is pretty good as level. Basically, you are just jumping around. The spikes are all moving. Everything is... Oh, that was a bad death. Everything is moving. The platforms are, the spikes are, you are, the bullets are. So, at a lot of times it feels just sort of awkward to control, but you know, it's obviously it's not randomized. It's just a bunch of things happening at once, which kind of can break your mind a little bit. So this next level, it actually introduces a new variant on the springs from earlier, and they are the red springs, and they don't give you your jump back, and they don't really let you control yourself either. So if you hit one, you're basically going where the spring says you're going to go, and there's nothing you can do about it. So in this case, it's going into that grab flipper, hitting it twice, because hitting it twice is actually faster. It lets you get this, next part, more quickly. And a lot of the levels here, especially the extra levels in World 4, are extremely quick. It has many of the fastest ones in the game. It's got one that's just over 5 seconds long, and it's only like 25 or 30 seconds long if you get all the stuff. But I think a lot of them are fun because of that. It's more optimized. It's a different kind of style. I mean, it's different stylistically because you're not fighting to, beat the level without dying and also getting all the strats. You're fighting to beat the level without dying and getting all the strats, but also, making every move down to the perfect frame, down to the perfect moment. And, I guess that's just normal speedrun stuff, but, it's very fun in this game because it's sort of just a good game. It's, the controls feel very nice. The momentum is awkward for maybe the first 10 minutes, but then, you get to know the controls and you get to know the character and you realize, okay, well, this can be used for a lot. So this is the 5-second level, if you can see. You just jump into that, you jump into this, and you beat the level. So 4-8, it's just blocks that toggle on and off. It's not crazy. It's obviously a very cycle-based level, as a lot of this game, but it's good to be cycle-based, I think, overall. It gives you kind of goals to aim for. It gives you things to skip. You can't just say, oh, there's always room to improve in this, because really, sometimes you do reach a max, and I think that's fun to have personally, but it depends on how you like to do things. The very end of this thing is fun, but it has a very sucky strat, which I'm not really going to go into detail about, but that very end room, I don't do it that way because I find it hard and I'm bad. So 4-5, it's basically just infinite jump fields. They combine with another thing you'll see later, which is low gravity fields, and high gravity fields too, actually. But pretty much, you go inside it, you can jump forever, and it lets you, it's a fun thing. It restores your double jump as well, which is useful. Again, if you're, that's bad guy. If you're used to wanting to be the guide kind of games, it is similar to, either water or the, infinite jump mechanic from there. Overall, it's got a lot of mechanics that are from other games. It's got a lot of, weird mechanics, but I think they're used in a way that makes them pretty much always fun to play because it's just well designed. Like this level, for instance, it's got a lot of parts which are weird because you walk into the area, you have no idea what to do, a lot of things are moving, but then it's pretty easy to get the perfect cycle. Like in this area, really the perfect thing you can do is just keep holding right for pretty much the entire time. And it's a lot of complexity in the game that's reduced down to simple actions when you get down to it. And I think that's what makes the game good, because it is a game with a lot of mechanics. It's got a lot of gimmicks. It's got a lot of weird stuff in it. But really, in the end, the inputs you have to do are not incredibly precise, and you just have to be able to do them every time, and you have to be able to sustain them for long periods of time, which is kind of the master at specifically. Uh, me doing these runs, I would die probably 40 times more than she does because I I hate practice, but also because a lot of these levels are really just hard to make consistent. A lot of them have variables based on how you jump, based on how you move early in the level, which really change how the rest of the level looks. So you do have to account for a lot of awkward and different timings on things, like that end of the level. Sometimes, if you get the right timing, you can jump directly into the goal from that orange field, which is the high grab field. But oftentimes, you'll be a frame late or a frame early, and you won't be able to get that momentum. So you really have to kind of realize, when you are on a winning strat and when you are on a strat that maybe, or like when you are on a winning run and when you're on a run that maybe, you have to do a secondary strat from. And there's a lot of secondary strats in the game. There's a lot of, tertiary strats when you fail the second strat, because, in a game like this, you really can't expect to do every input perfectly every time. You can come close if you are, a god gamer, but in the end, a lot of the stuff comes down to, having ways to like make up for it if you mess up a little, and that is something that is attributed mostly to the way that this run has been improved over time. So 4-boss is the big test of everything in World 4, and World 4 is the biggest world and the most gimmicky world. So it kind of makes sense that this would be the longest level in the game. So with a little bit of lag here, you will notice that pretty much they're going to be like, we're going to be doing a strat right at the start here, which I'm not sure if you're able to see. It's kind of the craziest strat in the game. Okay, but I have to look at the actual stream to see if you got it. Okay, well, anyways, basically, oh, I think she got it. The strat is you have to jump off the moving platform as it is just ending its movement, and you have to jump on it at the perfect time with the perfect jump height to just brush the top of the wall, or just push the top of the bottom of the ceiling. And if you can do that pretty much perfectly, I wouldn't call it frame perfect, but it's like 4 inputs you all have to do with a leeway of like, maybe 1 frame for each of them, or 2 frames. But if you can manage to be entirely super skilled and, do all the jumps, do the double jump perfectly, you can go right from the bottom of the room directly basically to the secret exit. So not really the secret exit necessarily, because it wasn't intended to be done that way, but it's meant to be basically a area that takes you back to a previous area once you've unlocked a secret. But we don't have the secrets because it's tokenless mode, there's no unlocks, but also because you got to that place early without, going to the later place that you're supposed to go to. It's actually just a like 17, 18 second skip or something, because it allows you to just bypass like 3 whole portions of the area, which all 3 of those portions kind of suck. So nobody is sad to see them gone. So 4-boss, it's a great level. It's way too long. It's like running a whole category on itself because it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Oh my god. But if you are insane, you can try and get all the tricks at once, and that's why the record is 1 minute 30 seconds there. So now we're on to season 5, which World 5, whatever. It's the final area, it's the, Bowser area, it's the fire area. And overall, a lot of the gimmicks in the area are pretty much just based on like skillful maneuvering around moving objects. So in this case, it's the fireballs that pop up from the ground or pop up from the lava. And you have to duck under them, jump over them as you are moving on moving platforms. And of course, if you compare this to like, the first or second area or the first or second worlds, things are a lot more complex. You're using a lot more, mechanics at once. But really, the strategies are, very similar. It's always just going to be, use the momentum from this block to do this, or cancel your jump doing this, or, multiply, or like, use the. I guess it's mostly just using the velocity from blocks, to be honest. But it's a fun mechanic to use because it's good to just, jump on something that's moving fast and then whoosh really fast off of it. It just kind of makes sense. This is a great skip because you just kind of wait for it to go back up and then you just, voila, you fall all the way down. That was not intended. The S rank time is 1 minute 34 seconds, and you can do that level in around 40. So it's, I think, probably the biggest skip in the game, but it's not done at 80% because that level isn't actually very fast even with the huge skip. And also because, well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Well, no, also because there isn't very many fast tokens to get, and the tokens are basically just collectibles scattered all around the levels. I think maybe you could assume by the fact that they're called tokens and we're playing the tokenless category that you don't need to collect any of them now. You can just kind of beat the levels and you get to the end by doing that instead. Usually you would have to collect 400 tokens to beat the game. And if you want to get the true ending, you need 1,000 tokens and 60 golden tokens. And golden tokens are scattered more rarely throughout the levels. But because we're playing tokenless mode, it's very simple. It's just beating every level and unlocking them using the special like invert warps if you have to. One fun property about the invert warps that nobody likes except me is that they slow your in-game time while they're active by around 2/3. So, if you want to get a world record, you're going to have to catch that warp as soon as you can, even if it's actually slower in real time. I like it because I think it brings more variety to the levels, but also it makes in-game time different from real time, which people usually don't like. And it's kind of arbitrary. But it does add some new strats, so I enjoy it. And also, it's the way I have any world records that I do. Otherwise, Game Guy would have taken all of them, but he has some kind of moral code about it, so he has. So now we've beaten 5-6 again. These are hidden blocks. They only appear once you walk on them. They're not really that hidden. They have a pretty obvious outline. If you're on low graphic settings, they used to just be 100% invisible, but that got changed in a recent update because, that's sort of dumb. This level is actually a buff of the third level in the game, the second level in the game, third, I'm dumb. Third level in the game, 1-3. It's, it's just kind of got a lot more moving parts and a lot more everything. I have the record on this level because I like it, and also it has a portal. But it's, it's okay. This one is kind of a not rehash, but a revisit to the, jump blocks that were in the game earlier. So if you double jump, the blocks disappear. For a level, that just means you have to not jump double. You just have to not use your double jump. But in some fun cases, it allows for, new skips where you have to use your double jump in a weird way to intentionally destroy certain blocks and create other ones. And, it looks kind of like all the things that you're doing right now are just, oh, this is the obvious strat. This is the strat that you would do, you know. Oh, like, okay, yeah, you just, here's where you jump and here's how it works. That makes sense. But in actual gameplay, you're going to be playing a lot slower, and even when you're trying for the like super fast times, most of these strats are going to take a little while to find because they're a little bit big brain. Uh, Even with just the very simple mechanics that are in the game, you know, just jumping and double jumping, it makes a lot of use of moving platforms and things that respond to you to have a lot of, you know, a lot of jankiness. Especially this level's pretty jank. It's the only level which doesn't really use squares because squares are for nerds. Now we're, you know, dodging circles and squigglies. That's really the whole gimmick. It's a good level, but it's, you know, it's pretty simple. So 5-boss is kind of the worst level because you are forced into kind of a certain cycle the whole time. Pretty much you have to use the portals, and every time you use the portals, they won't wear off until a certain time limit. And until they wear off, you can't hit another portal. So you're pretty much locked all the time into grabbing, you know, a portal and then waiting at the end for the next portal to appear, which is why the record on this level is not really contested because nobody wants to contest it. Oh, that is very sad. That's a very hard jump at the end there, honestly. I miss it pretty often, but, you know, it's a pretty big time loss if you do, so it's sad to see it. Honestly, this level is not the best one. It's made to basically showcase, I think, the fact that everything can be changed in the, you know, negative realm. You can really do a lot of janky stuff with it because, yeah. Are we behind? I don't know. Anyways, hopefully we're at the right place. If we are on the same place, if we're on the same page right now, she will be collecting the token right now. So collecting the you know, key or whatever right now. And well, at least that is done. So hopefully my voice is working. Hopefully I don't have to predict what's going on 5 seconds in the future, but I guess let's see if we do. The end of the area is also sort of dumb because it's just a bunch of fireballs which you have to duck and bob and weave, and then it is kind of trying to do, you know, the whole 5-5 thing with the not actually linear, like not actually blocked level design. Oh, okay. And then at the end, you grab all the things and you go into the 5-X, the final showdown. And it's not actually the final level because there's a super secret special world which nobody knows about. Can you believe it? And, you know, it's only unlockable after you beat this, which is, you know, kind of sucky because of the fact that you have to redo 5-boss, which is a sucky level. But on the positive side, you get to redo 5-boss, which is such a great level. And this boss is pretty cool, honestly. It is basically just a bunch of minefields of all the kind of different block types in the game. It's got the ones that turn off and on. It's got the ones that disappear when you step on them. It's got the ones that disappear when you step on them and then jump off of them. And then finally, it's just got normal blocks. And all of these blocks are in unison combining to make a pretty fun level with you being chased by a shadow clone, which, you know, is leaving that trail of static, which kind of slowly grows. I would not say that it's, you know, a bad level. It's got a lot of strategy to it. It's one that has been rerouted multiple times, but in the end, it's kind of the final level. So you have to. It's really a lot of pressure if you're playing any percent or any percent tokenless, but we're not. So it's kind of just the 3/4 way point, because the last level is, or the last world is 8 levels, and it's 8 levels that are not kind to you. The first time you play through, it'll take a while, a few hours at the least, I would say, but eventually you'll get through it. But I believe that we can see a fully deathless world A. So let's get this let's get this going, gamers. And if we have a single death, I'm just banning you from your own Discord. So sorry, that's just how life works. So first of all, you have to actually beat the 5- boss again, because technically you didn't get the ending, you got the portal. So you have to do the exact same level in the exact same way again in order to get the normal ending and move on to A-1. And A-1 is a good level because I have world record on it and for no other reason. But you'll see when we get to it. Right now, it's just more of the same level you've already seen. Not exactly that fun. It's just a lot of the cycles are weird, but they're not any more weird than they were the first time. Hopefully, this is something that you can see done first try. Yeah, nice. Okay. It's sort of going through a lot of the things that you've seen in the area, like these rising blocks were seen in 5-2, and I mean the magma spheres were seen in 5-1, and of course this was seen in 5-5, but for the most part it's just kind of its own level. It's not super great, but now that you've beaten the game, that will open up and you can get an incredible rank. Wow. So now we're on to Season A, and when we get to Season A, we're going to see some of the crazy stuff, like this level, which you basically just have to do on a single jump for most of it, which is difficult because you are used to having a double jump. I mean, that makes sense. This is one of the levels where the portal strat actually kind of sucks. The strat for getting the portal and using the timer, basically the timer slowdown, to get to the end of the level faster, because obviously it's way slower to grab the portal. But just because of the janky and strange nature of it, it ends up being faster in game, and that exists. So A-A, you've heard about the spike jumps. They are used here to great effect, but they're not required, so we're not going to be doing that. So I think the fun part about this level is that there's spikes everywhere. And the terrible part about this level is that there's spikes, everywhere, if you can believe it. It's one of the harder ones, especially even in World A, because there's really nothing you can do for a lot of it. You really just have to do the inputs at the right times, which is hard because the inputs themselves are hard. Again, all of the special levels, all these levels use the gravity turns, and this one ends up sort of being like a puzzle if you try to skip some of them, which you'll want to do if you want to get a fast time. But if you just play normally and you grab all the gravity tokens you're supposed to, you will beat the level in no time. Okay. Yes, that's the correct strat. I thought she messed up. Anyways. Oh, okay. Oh, and also, this level is one of the few levels which doesn't feature, well, it only features one checkpoint. So if you beat this level, you are pretty likely to, sorry, if you 100% this level, you're pretty likely to do it without ever hitting the checkpoint, which is actually a special achievement thing. It's called an ace. It's needed for the special extra category called 200%, which nobody runs because it does suck. But if you want to do every level without dying and while collecting everything, you get a reward for it, which is nice. And it's on the same level as the reward you get for beating every level fast, but also faster than the goal time. So S ranking, basically. So now we're rebeating A-1 Wonderful. It's, you know, it's the same level, except now you get to see the end of it. And the end is fun because it is cycle-based, and also the fast cycle is really hard to get. It's not frame perfect, but it's close enough. It's not exactly easy to get. A-2 is another, well, A-2 is different from A-1 because it's, although it's another portal strategy level where you get the portal to decrease your in-game time while keeping your real time going up, it's actually got a few special things with it because the portal doesn't actually really take any time to grab. So it, you know, it keeps the same cycle. It's as if you didn't grab the portal pretty much. So it's kind of free time saver if you're going by IGT rules. But the thing with IGT rules is the game doesn't actually use them. It's a little bit awkward. Well, not awkward. It's a little bit strange. But the way the game times it is basically it has a overall timer, it has an IGT overall timer, and it has an in-level overall timer. So the in-level timer basically uses IGT, and that uses, you know, the time that will get reduced if you grab a portal, as does the little P time down at the bottom left, if you can see. It says 42:10, and now it says 42:11. So it only picks up when you're in a level, and it goes slower when you actually hit a portal. But there's also the T time, which is the real time, and that's the time that's on the leaderboards. And that, I'm pretty sure it does remove lag frames, so no need to have an output or anything. But it counts menu time, it counts time spent in portals, it counts all that. What it doesn't count is when you actually beat the game, there's a slowdown effect right when you get to the end boss's exit portal. And that slowdown effect actually affects the real time and the in-game time. So technically, pretty much any run you do will have the real time be like 3 or 4 seconds faster than what your actual real time is, which I think is fun. You know, it's not really meaningful because everyone's gonna get it. You know, nobody's gonna miss the end work and have to spend those 5 seconds doing nothing, unless you're really bad, which I am. But yeah, so now we're on to A-C, the extra level A-3. It's kind of, there's no real specific like motif to this level. It's a spiral. It's actually a very quick speedrun. But this level, A-3, has a motif, and the motif is platforms that appear and disappear. And the motif is not fun because it basically just means the whole level is on one giant cycle. If you're really cool, you can probably skip it, but you know, really, what are you gonna do except sit around and wait for everything to go on and wait for every cycle to finish in the way that you want it to? But that's sort of, you know, that's sort of a lot of the game. So A-4, the final level, A Skull, whatever. Uh, it also has a portal, so you know it's not actually the last level we're gonna do, because the last level that we're going to play is this one. The timing doesn't end because we have to beat the level. We have to beat the A boss level. But this is the last level that you unlock, which is kind of funny considering, you know, the other level is called the finale, the incredible finale, and this one is just kind of a normal secret level. But it makes sense because they had to have the ABC and D. So, A Skull, the incredible finale. This level, it'll probably take you a few hours your first time beating it. It's one of the most fun levels, honestly. It's got some repetition in it because it doesn't really want you to have to adapt and learn the too many new things as they show up. But a lot of the time, most of the things can be skipped in really fascinating ways. She's not doing it here because it's the end of an hour-long run and not really safe. But if you want to be super crazy, most of these cycles can be skipped using platform momentum. You can pretty much jump from each of these platforms immediately. You can skip a few of them entirely. And you can play most of this area just holding right, which is fun to do, but it's also very hard. This is the next portion. It's got another save. In the original part, this level usually had 0 saves because the developer was really rude, and now they became nice and they added 2 extra saves to it. And it's helpful for newcomers. I'm a little bit salty because I spent 3 hours trying to clear it, and anybody coming into it for the first time will probably spend much less. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. Once we enter... Oh, okay. That's a very hard jump, so it's reasonable to fail. So, if we can manage to clear this... Oh, okay. Well, spoilers ahead. We did not clear that jump without dying. It's probably about a 30-40 second time loss if you die there. If you're going super fast, it's probably maybe 20-21 seconds of time loss, but it's not... It's enough to be very hurtful, even if you're on an amazing run, it can be ruined by dying at the last jump. But we've done it. We are God Gamers, and originally there'd be tokens here saying congratulations, but because we're babies and we play on tokenless mode, no more. And there's the level. And also there's the game to last time, basically. So it's a pretty good run. Emm's marathon run that she got just a few days ago was a 52, so there's a lot of improvement that you can get. There's a lot of improvement that is, pretty common. But, it's a marathon. You can't expect everything to go perfectly the first time, and for what it's worth, 56 minutes is a better time than I have, or I think anybody else has in this category. So, still pretty good. And we can see how many deaths how many deaths were at the end of the run. In total, that is 44 deaths, 54 restarts. It's not bad. A lot of those deaths were very costly. They could have been less costly. Good runs these days usually have 20, 25 deaths, and most of the restarts are actually just intentional for better cycles. So that's just about all. So, yeah. And if you want to say some words, you can. If not, thanks to all the cool gamers out here. Game Guy and Orc and others. And I guess golf kid now, but he's still baby, so we don't count that. So yeah, that should be it. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for the commentary, Butcher Berries right there. Thanks so much for that. It was really good. Thanks, Em, as well, for that run. It really looked so good, and it looks like she's gonna jump in, say a couple words. Jump in.
Maybe. Oh,
Hello.
Hi.
Um, Thank you everyone for having me.
That was a really good run.
I
Thanks
was
for
worried.
that.
I was worried when you said a couple words, you were just going to say hello and and that was going to be the joke. But anyways, yeah, good run. Could be better, but that's everyone in any game. So good stuff.
Yeah, pretty good stuff, actually.
I am out.
Start.
I'm gonna go to sleep because it's 2 a.m. just about.
So it's been such a long time since I died that specific space in an actual run and had to continue it, and I just
Oh yeah, the final.
legitimately got confused for a second
Yeah,
and
because
couldn't
this
remember
final
how to
game is just a reset.
do it from the checkpoint.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
Yeah, I guess once you're into a run and you kind of off your cycles, it's kind of hard to get back into it. But thank you so much, Em, for that run. It was really interesting, and thank you, Butcher, for the commentation, for the commentary right there. Remember to follow the runner and the commentator on their Twitch channels. You can find them on the chat right there.